Nicknamed the Pearl of Asia in the 1920s, Phnom Penh is the capital of Cambodia. It's also a province situated in the south of the country with a population of 1.5 million. The Royal Palace of Phnom Penh is a group of buildings constructed in 1860 and which is the residence of the King of Cambodia. The present king is Norodom Sihamoni, who has reigned since 2004, but who has no power and very few special privileges. "96% of the population are Buddhists, and around 2% are of the Muslim faith. The rest are of different religions. The city developed greatly under French leadership, leaving many European and colonial-style buildings, especially along the boulevards. Today, Phnom Penh is the most populated city in Cambodia. It has recently been subject to very haphazard development with no town planning whatsoever. Cambodia practices an ancestral martial art of Khmer origin dating from the 3rd century. It's called Bokator. The Khmer people were illiterate, so their way of life was transcribed in the form of drawing, architecture and sculpture. Khmer martial arts can therefore be seen engraved in the stone of many temples, monuments and training halls. In Khmer, Bokator means strike or pound the lion. We know little of its origins. This 3rd century martial art was not codified until the 9th century under the reign of Jayavarman VII, the greatest king of Angkor.
My name is San Kim Sin, I'm Grandmaster San Kim Sin Gold Krama of the Bokator. And I am Cambodia. And I am the revival of the Bokator during the Bokator was died more than 2,000 years ago, and now is alive in Cambodia. So that means I'm the founder of the Bokator Federation and the founder of the Cambodia Bokator Academy. What is different about Bokator with the sport in Cambodia? We have separate. We call martial art. Martial art is in the Bokator, and you see like they fight in television or something in state and something. That is the sport, fighting sport, and the fighting sport is come from the Bokator, but they choose only a few techniques to fight, so not really art. So that Bokator is become from fighting technique animal and the art. Art I mean like from dancing, like Apsara, like the dance from our culture, something like that, and that we call martial art. So the Bokator before fight they have to pray, they have respect all the spirit of the our great grandmaster, and also they do with the dance. Before fight they dance and they pray, after that they dance, and the time fighting. Yeah.
Under the regime of Pol Pot, various masters of the martial arts and adepts in general were systematically exterminated by the Khmer Rouge. A number of masters took refuge abroad. Others simply stopped teaching. This was the case of Grandmaster San Kim Shan, who also fled abroad before returning to teach Bokator in Cambodia and opening several schools. Today he's considered the father of modern Bokator. Bokator is now going strong and waiting to be granted living heritage status by UNESCO. Nowadays, this martial art is practiced not only in Cambodia, but also in the United States and in Europe, particularly in France because of the former ties between the two countries. Bokator teaches combat techniques, but also techniques of self-defense when faced with one or several opponents. Learning Bokator includes mastering arm lock techniques. The advantage of these techniques is that they allow the fighter to control someone while reducing the risk of being hurt. By and large, the technique consists of making use of the pain caused by a lock to subjugate one's opponent and throw him on the ground or immobilize him. The Grandmaster teaches his students different arm lock techniques to choose from according to the situation that arises. You have to position yourself correctly so as to seize the arm with which the opponent intends to strike without risk of being struck. Manipulation of the joint causes progressive pain, and according to the strength applied, the arm lock is more or less violent. Arm locks can therefore be used to subjugate one's opponent, but the pain caused by the lock is also used to force one's adversary to throw himself on the ground. Managing to seize an arm so as to avoid being hit and thus controlling the attack can also allow a counter-attack. This technique is as effective as an arm lock because it means the opponent is neutralized for some time. Bokator is therefore taught with two different approaches: the sports approach, where you learn combat techniques, and the martial approach, where you learn the culture and spirit of Bokator as well as self-defense techniques. Since the times of French Indochina, Phnom Penh has been the hub of the Cambodian road network. The capital is thus situated at the crossroads of all national roads serving the kingdom's provinces, as well as its neighboring states of Thailand, Laos, and Vietnam. Phnom Penh is a flourishing city, and since the 1990s has experienced considerable growth. Dawn is breaking on the Temple of Angkor. It is, in fact, not one temple, but several. They were built at the beginning of the 12th century as a state temple. Indian culture and philosophy have greatly influenced the culture of Angkor. All Angkor's large monuments are inscribed in Sanskrit and consecrated to Hindu gods, notably Vishnu and Shiva. Even today, adepts of Bokator begin each training session by paying homage to Brahma. Religious life in Angkor was dominated by Indian Brahmins who also practiced combat techniques, both barehanded and with swords. Bokator was probably founded simultaneously on techniques that emerged during the reigns of the kings of Angkor and on the influence of Indian martial arts. Moreover, the bas-reliefs of the monuments depict various Bokator techniques. One of the best preserved temples in the Angkor Temple complex is the Angkor Wat Temple, the archetype of classical Khmer architecture. It has become the symbol of Cambodia since it appears on the national flag. It's also the country's main tourist attraction. Angkor Wat combines two Khmer architectural bases for temples, the Mountain Temple side and the Gallery Temple side. It was designed to represent Mount Meru, the house of the gods in Hindu mythology. Moreover, Angkor Wat Temple faces west, probably because it faces Vishnu. The temple's beauty and size are such that many consider it the eighth wonder of the world. It's classified among the UNESCO World Heritage Sites. The influence of the Brahmins declined with the spread of Buddhism almost 1,000 years ago. The temple was not popularized until the mid-19th century, thanks to a French explorer, Henri Moore. Today, the temple is visited daily by Buddhist monks. There are many engravings and statues representing gods, men, and animals. But diverse as these decorations may be, they form a very harmonious whole. Numerous 19th century Western explorers thought that given the indescribable beauty of these temples, they would never have been built by the Khmer, and that they were surely the work of a more advanced people. However, historians today confirm that it was indeed the Khmer who constructed the temples. Moreover, for some time it was believed that they had been built by the gods. Today, the restoration of the Angkor temples is demanding a great effort, on the one hand because of the amount of earth and vegetation that have amassed, on the other hand because some of the temples are collapsing. Today, the ranking of the Angkor sites as part of the UNESCO World Heritage has allowed these temples, which had been in danger, to be saved. Thanks to tourism, these temples are little by little coming back to life and will be able to be restored. The temple is surrounded by 3 exterior galleries that prevent encroachment by the jungle and, above all, protect the site from invaders. On the outside of the exterior rampart, a 200-meter-wide moat surrounds the site. Today, the world and Cambodians are beginning to rediscover these treasures. However, the number of visitors is limited in order to minimize the impact of tourism and safeguard these ancient sites. Different types of boxing in Southeast Asia, such as Thai boxing or Kun Khmer boxing, are inspired from Bokator, so it's normal that we find some similarities. For example, in this way of protecting oneself by wrapping rope around the hands and wrists.
Yeah, what is difference from another martial art from the Bokator? See, like I told you, Bokator is mean fighting with the lion and with the ox. So that we have many techniques, thousand. I cannot count, but I just say for myself around 10,000 techniques, and we have proof in the Angkor Wat wall, every temple, like Bayon, like a temple in Angkor Wat. So that different, a lot the same from another martial art, because this is mean like we say God technique. The Bokator is the name in our human being, in our people, but I don't know how many years it belong to the God, like Shiva, Vishnu, Ramayana, and you see in Angkor Wat they fighting each other with Hanuman, with a giant, or with some bad guy. Also that is they use the weapon and they use the hand power at that time. So that come from the God and to the people, and the people, our grandmaster, that they have like a relation from the God's brain, God's spirit, something like that, and they know, and they plus with the animal style, everything that completely a lot the same.
Unlike other countries in the world, in Southeast Asian countries, women are more frequently seen taking part in the martial arts because martial arts are more culturally embedded than in Western countries. Originally in Bokator, the principal techniques consisted of covering the arms in rope to protect them. This technique meant adversaries armed with spears or swords could be parried or counterattacked. So Bokator is known for teaching techniques for striking with fists or elbows. In Bokator, you learn hand-to-hand combat with punches and kicks and arm locks, but that's not all. Because you also learn how to handle a weapon and even how to disarm an opponent. The royal palace of Phnom Penh was built in 1866 by King Norodom after he decided to move from the ancient capital of Udong to the new capital Phnom Penh. Ultimately, the construction is quite recent given the history of Cambodia. Before that, Cambodia's stronghold was in Angkor. Henceforth, it was to be in Phnom Penh. This royal palace, which is composed of different buildings, is very representative of Khmer architecture. Despite a strong Brahmin influence, the main religion is now Buddhism. It's therefore normal to find a temple in honor of Buddha. The present king is Norodom Sihamoni, and this is the royal throne. Moreover, the throne room is still used for different religious or royal ceremonies. And as in all kingdoms, gold is everywhere. Most of the royal palace buildings, particularly in this period, were built in the traditional Khmer style, but integrating important European characteristics. Cambodia has a heavy past, notably due to the crimes committed between the years 1975 and 1979. During the 4 years of the Pol Pot regime, the Khmer Rouge pursued a policy of extreme violence. The dictatorship resulted in more than 1 million deaths. These different crimes perpetrated are sometimes called the Cambodian genocide. This designation was retained particularly during the trial of Pol Pot after his fall in 1979. During the Cambodian Civil War, the Khmer Rouge took over territory controlled by the Republican Army and built re-education centers where firstly soldiers of the Republican Army were put away, then their families, as well as Buddhist monks. There was massive deportation from towns to the country, and the population's living conditions were close to slavery. Shortage of food was the cause of many deaths. Today, bones or personal belongings of Cambodian genocide victims can still be found. Usually, the parents were executed by a bullet in the head, and the children had their heads smashed against a tree. There were more than 1 million victims of the Cambodian genocide. That's nearly 20% of the population. Officially, Cambodia had no prisons under the Khmer Rouge regime, only re-education centers. These prisons were often installed in former temples or schools. The most well-known prison was Tuol Sleng, known by its code name S21. The building housing the prison was a former secondary school that was put under the responsibility of Kong Kek Lu, alias Doc. The use of torture was standard and generalized in all Khmer prisons. Often the prisoner was attached to an iron bedstead and tortured. This prison was the harshest among some 190 prisons of the dictatorship. During the dictatorship, there were nearly 14,000 people detained, 1,200 of whom were children, in prison S21. The Khmer Rouge imprisoned all proven or suspected opponents of the Khmer regime. They could be young or old people, workers, intellectuals, Cambodian diplomats or foreign diplomats. Among those imprisoned were women, children, and sometimes entire families. The guards were between 10 and 15 years old, and under the indoctrination of their elders, they rapidly became crueler than the adults. Sometimes there were nearly 100 executions a day, and Doc assigned specific days to kill certain types of prisoners. The former school, transformed into a prison for death, has been a museum since January 1980. The Khmer Genocide Museum is a strong reminder of the barbarity the Cambodians suffered during the dictatorship. Of all the prisoners, not one ever managed to escape, and when the camp was liberated, there were only 7 survivors.
Just imagine a corpse moving its leg. Ghosts, then supernatural, extraterrestrials in Southeast Asia. Doctor points me to a room that he says is a portal to the underworld.
You said you were gonna wait out here, but I was inside all by myself.
Join me, Josiah Hogan, for some strange encounters.
Strange Encounters on Discovery Asia.
What's up, Asia?
Sheeta, Ella, behind the world's craziest viral videos. Now.
Good luck. You're gonna get mine.
You have been warned, Asia. Monday night on Discovery Channel.
Cambodians are trying to reconnect with their culture and their religion, notably by celebrating marriages in their traditional costumes in Buddhist temples. The collapse of the Pol Pot regime gave way to religious freedom. The majority of Cambodians are Buddhists, and in spite of this hegemony, there doesn't seem to be any religious persecution in Cambodia. There are 4 main feast days: Chol Chnam, Shchum Ben, Katina, and Om Tuk. On feast days, Cambodians wear their traditional costumes. The color of the day is worn. For example, if the feast day falls on a Monday, orange is worn. On Tuesday, violet is worn, and so on. Each day has a corresponding color. Since the 15th century, Buddhism has been the state religion, despite a short interruption during the Khmer Rouge regime. In Cambodia, Theravada Buddhism is the most widespread. The pagoda is the place of worship for Buddhists. The construction and maintenance of a pagoda often relies on a village community, where everyone contributes according to his means. The management of pagodas is shared between the monk responsible for the monastery, who is called the mevat, and the layman. These days, the mevat is not nominated by the villagers, but by religious authorities. He is responsible for the good conduct of the monks. He enforces sanctions in the case of breach of discipline or morals. On the other hand, he cannot give away, sell, or exchange the goods of the pagoda. As in all countries where there is a majority religion, this religion has an impact on the country's culture, and it has a social component that is very important. Before the restoration of the French protectorate, the pagoda was the only center of learning in the kingdom. And it was the custom for boys to make a short or long sojourn there to learn to read and write, learn sacred texts and moral values. Even though today there are schools, the pagoda continues to receive boys who want to become initiated into monastic life. For a number of years, a certain number of Cambodian temples have been listed as a part of the UNESCO World Heritage. But there are many other temples threatened with ruin and that are not yet protected. Many temples that are hundreds or even thousands of years old have been abandoned. They have only been rediscovered since the beginning of the 20th century. The Thap Rom temple, that today is sometimes called the Nature Temple, is one of the temples that is most taken over by the jungle, to the point of almost being part of it. At its construction, it was a Buddhist temple, but the succeeding king, being Hindu, destroyed the statues of Buddha. Many temples are today covered with the roots of majestic trees, to such a degree that one sometimes has the impression that the temples grew underneath the trees and pushed up the trees' roots. However, there's no question of pulling up the trees, which now form an integral part of the architecture. Back in Phnom Penh, dawn is breaking with a new day of training for the young Bokator adepts. The inspiration of many other disciplines, Bokator is a very old form of martial arts that includes a great number of techniques, many now integrated into Muay Thai or by MMA. In boxing classifications, Bokator is a foot-fist form of boxing. The longest parts of the body are the legs, and so using the legs to attack or defend oneself in martial arts becomes very interesting. The attack range is longer with the legs, which means enlarging the defense and attack zone. That is why many training sessions are devoted to bodybuilding and suppleness of the lower half of the body. You have to have strong legs and be able to combine foot and fist attacks. Little detailed information exists about 3rd century Bokator technique, particularly since the first attempts to structure the discipline date from the 9th century. The Grand Master is trying to perpetuate the transmission of part of the knowledge that has been rediscovered. Today, he's trying to give Bokator the place it once occupied within the martial arts, thanks to the many schools he has opened.
So when they punch, just move a little bit. Okay, here, boom, 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 boom. Boom here, good. Shoulder punch. Use shoulder punch, shoulder kicking. The elbow,
Over the last few years, young people have begun to come to Bokator training. There are very few enthusiasts, if you compare it, for example, to Muay Thai. But Bokator has become a real religion for Grandmaster Samkin Sheng, who masters almost 8,000 techniques in the discipline. Theoretically, the fighters wear the symbols of the former Khmer Army uniform. They wear a traditional scarf around the waist and a little blue and red rope around the head and the biceps. The scarf around the waist indicates the fighter's levels. Bokator also has a psychological aspect. That's why the boxers do breathing exercises. In the old days, many boxers would recite Indian mantras to assure them victory in the fight.
Back to normal. And only one more time is the last one.
As opposed to other types of boxing, in lion boxing, you learn to manipulate a number of weapons, such as the stick. This is a very complete discipline in itself, since you learn techniques of self-defense and how to handle a weapon, but also how to use your fists and feet effectively in unarmed combat.
Do all the document technique, movement, sand, 3rd degree and 4th degree. Between that, you are instructor. Do something. And I'm so happy if around the world all martial art grandmaster, any grandmaster, like karate, kung fu, hapkido, taekwondo, judo, aikido, everything, etc. We are family. We're not the enemy each other, because martial art respect and discipline each other. If we want to open fight in the ring, or open something, World Bokator competition or festival, and we do enjoy together for happy life, happy time, and happy family. So that is the way how to build up the Bokator to the world and the country. Make everybody do the same thing and the country. Make everybody do the same thing. When we have the competition, festival, everything in the Bokator technique, because we don't have enough instructor right now. So we have to practice.
As in other martial arts, there are different levels. There are belts of different colors called krama that look like scarves. They indicate the boxer's different levels. Passing into a higher level depends on mastery of a certain number of techniques. For example, to attain the black belt, you have to master a minimum of 1,000 bare-handed fighting techniques. Every move up to a new level is marked by the award of a diploma and a belt.
Welcome all the martial art, all the sport, all the people, regular people, or even young generation, even old people, even lady, woman, and welcome. I am in the Siem Reap province and in Cambodia, but I'm Siem Reap province. It means the land of the God and here is the land of the tourism, and in Siem Reap, Angkor Wat. So come to visit Angkor Wat. You will see the Bogota technique in the wall, and visit me in my Cambodia Bogota Academy in Siem Reap. In here, that I bring all the sculpture of our great grandmaster and the spirit of our king, something, and to be alive from the stone, and to be alive in here. And you will see, we will do the good show and demonstration and explain what is Bogota, and enjoy with us.
Cambodian cuisine is very influenced by Vietnamese, Chinese and French cuisine. For that matter, Siem Reap is a very lively city both day and night. After their day's work, many Cambodians go out for a drink or for dinner. One of the Cambodian specialities is chukolok, a fruity, refreshing drink. It's an iced drink with mixed fruits, crushed ice, eggs, milk and sugar.